Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to our community. I'm Andy Thornton, coming to you from the I've Decided Studios here in Peoria, Illinois. And our community is sponsored by I've Decided and the Greater Peoria Family YMCA. So, do you strive to put the needs of others first, but often find yourself struggling for the necessary energy to be successful? Well, in today's episode of our community, we're going to discuss why it's important to take care of yourself first so that you can help others. Joining me today is Ben Watt. Ben, been here a few times on the show. Always great to see you and be with you and to share in this discussion.
Thanks for the invitation to come back.
So, still the interim family pastor at, Eastside Bible Church in Morton?
Yes, that's correct.
Right?
Yes.
What else is going on in the world of Ben?
I have a daughter who just turned 5.
Nice.
And that's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
She's our youngest. And then I also have been putting together some curriculum for men to help them become impactful in their family and in their community.
Great.
So we'll see what becomes of that.
Yeah.
That's
Do you have
kind of
a
exciting.
plan for where you're going to implement or use the curriculum?
I do. Powerful Christian Men. I have a Facebook group called Powerful Christian Men, and there's about 100 and so guys in there. Right now we're doing a 31-day challenge where you read one proverb of the Bible every day, and I have to post something from my reading every day. So that's been great, and I got a few guys who've joined into that. So
is it a, sorry to cut you off, but is it a social media? Are you doing most of the connection through Facebook, or are you having some in-person meeting? Or
so God has been good to me. I've worked in men's ministry in a variety of ways since 2017.
Yeah.
Even before that,
you've shared that a few times with us. That's great.
So social media is currently where I'm trying to expand my reach. Yeah. But I still meet with guys one-on-one often.
And a lot of the younger generation spends time on social media too, right? So
this is true.
a medium in which they use a lot.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And it's great because you expand your audience, which even this podcast will probably be listened to on social media by some people.
I'm sure it will. I hope it will.
That's right.
Because that's really the only way they're going to get it.
So you get it from the website too, right?
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So the weekly winning word, let's talk about that first. With the I've Decided community is durable.
Yes.
Right? Durable. And we were talking a little bit about that offline before we started the podcast here. And you offered an interesting question, right? Can you name someone who's durable? Right.
Yes,
and we were challenged with that a little bit. It's not as easy to come up with examples, living examples of somebody who represents this word as maybe some of the other words that we've talked about.
And I didn't mention this before, but when I first read the weekly winning word, my very first thought was Tupperware. It's been there forever.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, a person who's durable. And I think we were discussing, and I know some people who have been through a lot of stuff and have lived a long time. My mom has passed away, but she had a heart issue and a stroke, and then she fell and broke her shoulder. And then a few years later, it happened again after a stroke. And I remember the second time she's in therapy, I said, "Mom, is this like depressing you?" And she said, "No, it's just the next thing." And she was durable in that sense. Like, I just keep pushing through the next thing in life.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Knowing that God's on her side and providing the strength that she needs to overcome those challenges.
It doesn't mean that it was easy,
right?
Or that there were storms, but that's durable.
So I got a question for you. How much time do you spend in a day or a week focusing on your own needs?
With intentionality. Right. Because you could say, well, when you're scrolling social media, that's selfish, but that's not focusing on your own needs.
Right. Exactly.
So I would prefer to ask you that question.
That's fine.
No,
I would say it's not nearly as much as what it should be.
Right. I'm doing better in this. Like, literally in 2023, this has been something that I've been challenged by a couple of friends as well as a coach. that you don't always have to be looking out for the needs of others. You're always aware of the needs of others. Sure. But if you're in an airplane that's going down, whose oxygen mask are you supposed to put on first?
Yours.
Your own. Because
Absolutely.
Otherwise you won't have anything left to give to those around you. So I've been focusing on that through a morning routine, through exercise. And even when I was getting lazy in my exercise, I got a part-time job that forces me to walk,
to be moving,
and be moving
all the time. And that is so important. And I just earlier today, I was at a leadership seminar here in town, and the focus of the seminar is great content, and it was about coaching strategies for leaders to use with their staff. Mm-hmm. Right. So I went into this whole thing thinking I'm going to get some nice tips and some good strategies of how I'm going to, strengthen my work with my team. Right. And the thing that hit me while I was going through this is the value of not only of me as a leader in my organization and the responsibility that I have for so many people that work within the organization, but the value of being coached.
Yes.
That I don't spend nearly enough time thinking about, planning for, engaging in. And it kind of struck me as that's a failure of mine because I'm not filling my cup enough to where I can even be effective in working with my team. So when you think of it through the lens of being durable or durability, you got to take care of yourself first before you can help others.
Yeah.
Or the effectiveness just isn't going to be what it could be.
Yeah, we talk about serving from our overflow, not from our emptiness. So if I am a cup of water and it's not being refilled, then eventually I'm drained and I have nothing left to give. But if it's overflowing, because I am feeding myself, refilling my cup, it's almost like limitless what you can do.
Yeah.
But in the context of durability, you gave us the definition, or Kim did, able to last or endure, and the power to resist. Again, if you're starving, it's going to be hard to last. If you're not healthy physically, it's going to be hard to last. Right. But that applies to every other aspect as well. Mm-hmm. Emotional, spiritual, even feeding your own mind when it comes to leadership, like you were speaking of today. And this is the first year I've ever hired, not the first year, the second time, but I hired a coach for specific areas in my life that I needed help. And I was a little irritated that I was paying him to tell me what I already knew I needed to do.
Yeah.
But just that investment meant, well, I'm paying for this. I'm going to do it.
Right.
And I think you bring up a valid point. If you're going to last, you're going to need somebody pushing you on. Right. Michael Jordan had a coach. Yeah. The greatest basketball player. Some younger people may disagree.
Some of the most effective leaders around, I think, take that seriously. Right. And, Michael Jordan's a perfect example of that. Many people would think he knows it all, right? He has it all. He has all the tools, all the skills, but he's got to have somebody there to push him, right? To train him, to fill him up.
Sure.
So he has the ability to do that.
And some of our listeners may not know who Michael Jordan is. So LeBron James, he could be in the competition there for the top.
He absolutely could be. But it's so important. And you shared the definition. So able to last or endure, the power to resist. This is the piece that just caught me. The power to resist, the importance of being able to say no, to avoid distraction, to keep away those negative things that could impact your ability to be filled up on a regular basis, I think is so important. And I didn't think about that I don't think enough when I think about the word durable. Strength, lasting, power, all of those things come to mind, but being able to avoid distraction or the power to resist really kind of struck me as an aha moment.
Yeah, I probably would not have thought of that in the context of durable. I mean, it's clearly there, but when I think about an older person who continues to have joy and purpose in their life, and they've been through a lot, I think of their lasting and their enduring. But the power to resist, I recently read that every yes is a no to something else. Mm-hmm. And I suppose conversely, every no is a yes to something else. And so there are so many distractions available, and temptations, and opportunities, shiny objects. And there are so many things we have to learn to say no. And I think I don't want to get ahead of you here, but in Kim's example in the article about the Pantheon, which I would like to clarify for those who are like me, that is not the Parthenon. The Parthenon are ruins in Greece. The Pantheon is a building that is still in use in Rome. Or Italy, So, but the Pantheon has a purpose right now. It's a Catholic church. But if they lost sight of its purpose and they said, well, we need some of this concrete, well, it's not concrete, whatever it was made of.
Limestone.
And
volcanic ash.
Yes. We need that for another project. And they started chipping away at it to use it on another project. This building would not still be here. So obviously the building doesn't have a mind of its own to resist that, but those around it did not allow it to be repurposed and reused. It was able to resist those other possible.
That was a really interesting story, and I think a great example of durability. And as Kim kind of pulled out, the three elements of that story that I think we can utilize in our daily life, right? And so let's talk about that. The first one is substance. What are you made of? Because our makeup determines our endurance.
Yeah, that's a great rhetorical, introspective question. What am I made of?
Are you made of Facebook ads? That's what I think about. What are you putting into your body, right? Whether physically or spiritually, mentally, what are the things that you're absorbing to make you who you are is going to determine or affect your ability to be durable.
It's interesting. We've mentioned this before, but I ran for state representative. And when that was over, I didn't win. I won in a lot of ways, but I didn't win the seat. But when that was over, I took a break from watching the news because I needed to remember what I was made of, like not be consumed by that. And I just saw a short video clip of some motivational speaker who said he never watches the news because the news is always telling bad news because bad news sells. Now, there are some good stories. But I thought, what would my life be like if I never watched the news? Maybe I'll read it or the headlines are going to get to you somehow. But if you just stop this continual
cycle of
just exactly. And they may even mean well, but mostly they're just trying to get ratings. But what would happen if you just stopped watching the news for a season? Are you made up of one crisis to the next? Like we always need something to make us angry or to get us excited or whatever. What if we stopped and we're just quiet long enough to find out what am I made of and decided what we were going to put in? How would our outcomes be different?
Are you intentional about the books you read, right? What's the purpose in the book that you're reading? What do you hope to get out of that, right? The food that you put in your body, right? That's important. You need to be healthy, physically healthy in order to be durable. And everything else, whether it's TV or the relationships that you have with other people in your life, whether they're men, women, are they bringing value to your life or are they sucking energy out of your life, right? That all plays into who we are as individuals.
That really, that popular phrase, I've forgotten now who said it, but you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
I believe that.
As a guy in ministry, I often am, and this was even my nature before I was in ministry growing up, I'm kind of drawn to the underdog. And I've had to work really hard to be intentional about being around successful people because I've had a bad attitude about that. Not in recent years, but like that's something I had to intentionally be like, if I want to become successful, I need to be around successful people. Well, they don't need me. So why would I be around them? They don't need me. It's the poor person that needs me. Well, that's true. But what I've learned is that you run out of juice. you're not going to be able to serve anybody else.
Right.
And so that substance, what are you made of? It's so important that your fuel, I like the way you put it there, your fuel will determine your durability or your weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the substance of that Pantheon building was remarkable. A miracle of architecture, as I said, or a miracle of something. Architectural miracle, the way that the crystals were formed and it doesn't crack.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are things that we can do to keep us from cracking.
Mm-hmm.
And we're exploring that today.
Absolutely.
But we've got to be intentional about it for sure.
Yeah. So I think substance, right? What are we made of? What are we consuming? Where are we spending our time? Who are we spending our time with? All plays a part in our ability to be durable, right?
Yeah,
provides the strength. So let's move on to the second thing. And the second point was love, right? Do you care enough about yourself, right? Do you nurture yourself? Which is hard to do. It really is, especially, I think of somebody who has been in a pastoral role and in ministry the way that you are. There's a lot of people in need, or a lot of people you're spending a lot of time with. And that can become a challenge, I would imagine. Right. And I know that there's a lot of data out there where pastors are leaving the pulpit because it's so hard to do over a long period of time, because you're constantly helping others and maybe not getting filled up the way that you should be.
I think that happens with good CEOs as well.
Sure, absolutely,
I think,
it does.
We like to all say that we have the hardest job in the world. Right. Pastoring is hard. I do think it's very weighty, very weighty. I've had to be in the courtroom not in the courtroom, but outside the courtroom when children were being removed from a home. And there's really no grief like that. Like, if your child dies, that is horrible,
right? But
it's out of your control. This one, you just feel like you have all these hoops to jump through. I've been with folks who've lost loved ones, and you're right, that's very draining. But also getting a call when I was the HR director and safety director at Peoria Charter Coach at 2 a.m. in the middle of the night, that a bus was broken down in Pennsylvania with 50 high schoolers on it. That was not as weighty as pastoring, but it was more stressful.
Sure.
Like, if you lose a loved one and I need to come comfort you, I can do that tomorrow, usually, or I can come tonight, but we know what to do. But when you're broke down on the side of the road. So I think this applies not just to pastors, but to everybody.
Sure, it does. Absolutely.
Do you take care of yourself? And I was sharing this example with you guys earlier. I don't generally go to the doctor. So when I worked all those years at Peoria Charter, every 2 years I had to get a physical. I also drove a school bus part-time in the past, and I also had to get a physical every year. So I was like, well, what do I need a doctor for? I keep passing my physical. And yesterday I went on my own and had an appointment with a family doctor. And he said, so why are you here to see me? And I was like, well, because everybody says I need a doctor and I don't have one. And all my labs came back good.
Yeah.
I'm glad about that, but my blood pressure was high. And he's like, well, there's 3 things you can do. You can take medicine, you can lose weight, and you can exercise. And I was like, okay, I wish I could take a pill and it'd just be all better, but I have to put the work in, right?
You got to work at it.
So that is, strangely enough, part of love.
It is. And it's not easy, but I think you have to have that mindset of, right, I need to take care of myself. Right, I have to invest in my physical, spiritual, mental well-being in order for me to be in a position to even consider helping others. Right? I mean, you can do it if you don't take care of yourself, but you can't sustain it. Eventually, you're going to run down. You're going to run out of fuel. Right, and you got to have that spirit of, I understand I got to take care of myself. I got to love myself enough to put my needs first, which is hard for some people to do, and it's understandable because we're taught not to be selfish, and it feels somewhat selfish. But you were sharing your perspective a little earlier that that of the value of taking that time for yourself, which I think is extremely important, and that just speaks to this.
Absolutely. And I think that if you're ready to go to the next point, that purpose,
let's go.
That purpose really drives that self-love. So we're not talking about self-love like you're a selfish person who only cares about themselves. There are plenty of folks like that who don't see the needs of their employees, don't see the needs. And I've been in environments where it's like banging your head against the wall. Do you see your employees need this? And you're just ignoring it. They're not machines, they're people. But I also have experienced a lack of purpose, which then led to poor health. I mean, I personally can testify that, but I've also seen it where it doesn't really matter if I take care of my health. It's not like I'm accomplishing anything anyway. You know, I've failed, so I'll just come home, watch TV, and eat ice cream. And I think as we talk about purpose, that really feeds into that. I'm nurturing myself for the sake of being able to serve others. I went to the doctor to make sure I'm in good health and get coaching on what I need to do to get that blood pressure down, because I don't want my family to lose me because I did not do my job to take care of myself. But the family is what's driving me there. Family, I probably wouldn't go to the doctor because I'm like a typical man. Why would I go to the doctor?
But you value your family enough to put that at the forefront
and take care of myself
and take care of yourself,
so that I can be durable enough to watch them grow up.
And I think having a purpose and having a goal, having a dream, having objectives to fulfill professionally, personally, or whatever, you know, that's the purpose you need in order to, you know, make sure you're putting the right substance in your bodies, right, to be strong as you could possibly be, to make sure that you're loving yourself enough to care for yourself. Without purpose, you may struggle with the other parts of this, right? All of these things are what makes it whole almost. You can't just have two of the three, right? You can't have substance and love and no purpose. You can't have love and purpose and no substance.
Exactly.
You got to have all of it in order to really put yourself in a position to be successful.
And again, Kim gave us this great illustration in the Pantheon. So it had a very specific purpose. I think she said
like in the community center.
For
lack of a better term.
That's right.
A place for people to go.
Yes. And be proud of.
Right.
And because of that, they built it with durable substance, and they've clearly taken care of it all these years. That would be the love part. And so we just think if I wanted to build myself like this Pantheon, I have a purpose. I have to have substance, and I've got to take care of what I have. That's what the love is. And I think your question here, how are you serving and making a difference? Do your goals and dreams inspire people and make an impact in your area of influence? Again, I supervised the cleaning crew at Peoria Charter for many years. And I wanted these people to feel purpose in what we were doing, because a paycheck is a terrible reason to work. It is the number one reason, but you would like to have more than that. And I would say, I want us to be the limousines of transportation. Like you could get a cab, that's the school bus, or you could hire Peoria Charter, and that's the motor coach, and we're the limousine. So when they get on here, it shouldn't look like the interior of a cab. It should be clean. And I literally, like, that was my goal, to inspire them to think of themselves as contributing to luxury.
Creating an experience.
Yes. And several of them bought into it. And that was great. It made it so much more fun. Like, I want us not to just avoid complaints. I want us to wow our customers. And so you may think, oh, all I'm doing is cleaning the bus, but you are part of why people are going to have a great trip to Six Flags or a great trip to college or wherever. And purpose, it really drives the other two.
I think it does. So I think in summary, right, in order to set ourselves up to be durable, right, long lasting, we got to have a purpose. We got to make sure that we're putting the right fuel in our body, our substance is of value, and that we love ourselves. We take care of ourselves so that we can continue to be here. And all three, it's like a stool, and those are the three legs of the stool. And if you take one of those away, you're going to have a hard time staying upright.
And if you're like me, there are seasons in your life where you're struggling to find the meaning or the purpose.
Sure.
But the taking care of yourself and the substance, that's really very objective. You can just do that.
Right.
And then the purpose will begin to take shape. Sometimes we're like, well, I'm not going to invest in myself until I have the purpose. Sometimes the investment is what will help you figure out your purpose.
True.
So I want to encourage you, like if you're listening and you're like, I'm in a dead end place. Well, still pour into the other two. And that third one, you just keep seeking and finding, and it will come to life.
And the purpose can change, right?
Absolutely.
From season to season, year to year, decade to decade.
Look at my LinkedIn. We were joking about that earlier. Who is this guy? He's been a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but that's okay. Those are great experiences, right? That you can lean into and learn from and build off of.
Right.
So this has been great. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you
for joining me.
My pleasure.
And thank you out there for joining us this time on our community. Hopefully this has been helpful for you, and we look forward to seeing you here next time on our community.